I'm Chief Cheryl Victorian. This is Waco PD on the beat. Whether it's crime or just getting to know the Waco Police Department, we're here to talk about things that matter most to you.
Hello and welcome, Waco, to Waco PD on the beat. I am Officer Janae Draper with the Neighborhood Engagement Team.
And I am Sierra Shipley, the Public Information Officer for the Waco Police Department. It's the end of the month now, and we are here to bring you kind of like our crime episode. But it's not really like crime. It's more safety episode this week.
Crime and safety episodes. Yeah. Maybe we can couple those together.
Because we're talking about traffic laws.
Traffic laws, red light laws.
Exactly. We have Sergeant Ashworth here. He is the sergeant over our traffic unit, which we've had the traffic unit on before, some of your guys.
Yes.
To talk about maybe like school zones and stuff like that.
Yes, school zones. Yeah.
But we've never specifically talked about an abundance of traffic laws like we're going to be doing today. So
get out your pad and pencils and get ready.
So thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
But tell us what situations we're recently dealing with that you're seeing on the roads right now.
Well, I guess some of the biggest complaints we have right now, number one is speeding, and number two is red light running. Obviously, both of them can lead to accidents and whatnot. So that's what a lot of folks, not just here in Waco, but throughout the United States are seeing. There's a lot more speeding. There's a lot more red light running, just reckless driving in general. Because, I mean, I just watched a video out of Austin where it's not an officer, just somebody driving their car in Austin. They have a camera in their vehicle, obviously for their safety purposes or whatnot. You actually see the light turn red. And they get a green light. Well, 1 second after they get the green light, a car comes through the intersection. Well, fortunately, they were paying attention, so that vehicle, there was no crash with that. But 5 seconds later, another car ran the red light and smashed into another vehicle that was, in there. Yeah. Well, that's not just running a red light. That's reckless driving. I mean, that goes from being a citation to really, it could be going to jail.
Yeah.
Because they, the actions that they took. And one of the things that I think people need to look at also is, we call them crashes now. That's kind of new to people. They're not accidents. There are accidents that can occur, but usually it's dealing with Mother Nature and, wind, rain, things like that. With that involvement, that's an accident or can be an accident. Crashes are more of an intentional act. Somebody did something that caused the crash to occur. So whether that's I'm on my cell phone, I ran the red light, I was going too fast, and maybe somebody crossed in front of me because they figured, hey, the speed limit's 30. They weren't expecting somebody to come down the road at 60 miles an hour. So, I mean, things like that are what we look at is that's a crash. That's not because there was an intention. Whether you intended to have a crash or not is not the bottom line of it. It's the action that you were doing at the time that the crash caused it.
Right. And so, well, before we get into kind of more nitty gritty, explain a little bit of the overview of what the traffic unit is.
Okay, the traffic unit basically oversees the traffic enforcement in the city of Waco. We do this, basically we go through areas that, and take complaints from areas that see traffic issues. So we go out and make an assessment of, is that a traffic issue? Or maybe that's just, is it just heavy traffic and we're not used to it? Because obviously for the last few years, Waco's gotten a lot more traffic than what we used to. So that's something we have to look at is, do you have somebody that's lived in the same area and then all of a sudden we just have a lot more traffic? It's not necessarily speeding or something like that. It's maybe a perception there versus an actuality.
I was just going to say perception versus, what it is. And okay.
Yeah, so we go out and we may use a speed trailer to go out there and do that. We actually have one deployed at Twin Rivers right now near the golf course. We've actually had it out in that neighborhood a few weeks now. We just moved it this last week to a different area because that is a fairly large neighborhood out there. And we had several complaints, and obviously people coming through that neighborhood because of the golf course and other various reasons. Not everybody lives there. So we put it out there, and we actually got a lot of feedback from the neighborhood as far as, hey, that's working. It's slowing people down. People actually see how fast they're going, and that's a part of it. The speed trailers, we can do surveys with them, or we don't have to do surveys with them. Some of it's just having people visually see, oh my gosh, maybe I should pay attention because I'm going 45 miles an hour through my neighborhood. When I sit there and complain about other people speeding through my neighborhood, I'm actually speeding through my neighborhood as well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what it is. It's a reality check for a lot of folks. And we talked to several individuals out there that said, yeah, it's great that it's out there. We actually are planning to put it in one other spot before we pull it out of there and take it to our next project. So that's kind of where we're at. But it is basically, and if, let's say we did a survey in an area and we see, and we can do a survey a couple of different ways. One is we can go out and use the speed trailer, but obviously the speed trailer is not going to catch all the offenses that we may see. So if it's a red light, obviously one of us is going to have to sit there and watch that red light. Stop sign, same thing. So basically, the other way is for one of us to go out and actually watch that area and see how many violations that I may, stop. So basically, a rule for me is if I can make three stops in an hour, that's an area where we're going to work because that's a lot for one particular area.
Right. And when you say that, it doesn't mean you're trying to make 3 stops. It's just you see the violation, and if there's more than 3 that you see, then you realize that that's an area of issue. Okay.
Absolutely. Because sometimes we haven't been able to do it lately, but sometimes we'll take an unmarked vehicle and actually watch that area because obviously people are going to pay more attention most of the time when a patrol car is sitting there watching that area. They're going to pay attention to that patrol car. But, sometimes they don't. Right.
And, I might call him out for a bit, but he doesn't listen to this podcast, so he might never know. But my husband is notorious for speeding.
Ryan, slow down.
And, I laugh at him all the time because we'll be driving and then he might see a patrol car or a cop car on the side of the road and he slows down. And I go, at that point, they've already got your speed, right? They already have it.
If you see them, it's probably no sense.
They already have your speed. If you see them, you immediately hit your brakes. But I always get down to him for that. But I am also the one that is called the grandma as I drive.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But you always get from point A to point B without any problems.
Exactly. But going back to the speeding thing, I know that like the trailers and stuff, that's been very beneficial. I noticed at the neighborhood associations, you say most y'all is red lights and speedings, and I know speeding is a major concern for most of the associations. And the trailers that do the speed surveys and getting that data back to whether either, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, yes, there is a speeding problem here. An issue, or there's, hey, it's, not really a speeding problem. It maybe just be one person here or there that looks like it's, or it just looks like it's going fast, but it's actually going the speed limit or something like that. So that's been very helpful in the neighborhood associations with the data that it collects.
Right.
So. Yeah, one of the things, you talk about just one vehicle. We will actually target a single vehicle. If we get enough information on a vehicle, we did it in China Spring. I had numerous calls on one particular vehicle. I even had, employees of the department saw me actually stop this individual one morning and that guy's, been causing heck down the China Spring Highway every morning. He's always speeding to work. Well, I made a stop on him. I don't remember if it was actually for speeding, but I do know it was he did have a violation. So I stopped and talked to him for a little bit. Of course, about a year later, we had to do it again because I got another complaint on him. So one of my guys did stop him for speeding, and we had another conversation with him. We haven't had it's been about 6 months, I guess, and we haven't had any other problems with him. But, just giving us information about those individuals. We'll go straight to their house. Hey, people are complaining about you speeding through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Understand if we catch you doing that, that's, it could be a violation. You could get a citation or whatever, something worse if you get into a crash or something like that.
Yeah.
Sure, I know there's been plenty of times, and that's a great point to make, that people are watching, and they're gonna let us know when
Yeah.
they don't like the way that you're driving, if you're speeding constantly or anything like that. Because
Even driving recklessly.
Oh yeah, I mean, we get messages all the time to our Facebook page, and I know I send them over to you when it's definitely a situation of concern, and so that is definitely something that we get quite often, and so that's good for people to know that. If you know, I mean, and sometimes people do know. A lot of times people don't even realize that they might be speeding, but a lot of times people do know what they're doing and probably maybe shouldn't be driving that way.
Right.
But yeah, people are watching. They're sending it to us.
Absolutely. And some people just aren't paying attention to their speed. I mean,
Right.
I stopped two people a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, and both of them, neither one of them had any idea how fast they were actually going.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. You'll stop somebody. Do you know how fast you were going? And it'll be like a 30, and they're doing 45, 50 miles an hour. No, I have no idea. I'm like, you're in a neighborhood. I mean, going 50 miles an hour. I mean, there's kids in this neighborhood, so.
I mean, the vehicles, they're a dangerous thing to drive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially
sure.
now that the weather's nice, people are out walking, getting outside. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, definitely. So what are some things that I guess the public, besides, I mean, we know the answer is to slow down, but what are some things that the public maybe can continue to do or help us out with to kind of reduce the issues that we're seeing?
Really just pay attention on the road. I mean, and a lot of the red light running, while, yes, there is a lot of it that isn't done intentional, some of it's just simply done because I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize that light had already been yellow for a while, and now I'm driving through it. So a lot of it's just, keeping your head on a swivel and paying attention to the roadways versus everything else like your cell phone, which is probably a good percentage of a cause of our crashes. Obviously, we can't prove that because nobody's going to tell us that they were texting whenever they got in a crash.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, but we know for sure we see them going down the roads and they may have their cell phone in their hand. Obviously, it's not illegal to talk on your cell phone while you're driving down the road. You just can't be in any kind of messaging app.
Right.
But yes, just, paying attention, being thoughtful to your surroundings and what's going on. I mean, we had, I was doing some data of our CRIS system, which is where we record our crashes, and we had over 2,600 crashes just at intersections since January 1 of last year.
Wow. Wait, say that number again?
2,600.
Wow.
that's a lot.
So, I mean, and you figure there was about 7,600 people involved in those crashes.
Sure. Because not every car is one occupant.
Right.
And
So-
you can at least double that because you got one car and one car, so at least one driver in
Absolutely.
each.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and fatalities, we had at least 7 that I saw in the system. As far as severe injuries, I wasn't able to look at that, but, you figure, you take a percentage of that, there's a lot, because if you're driving through and you blow a red light at 60 miles an hour and somebody's coming across there, somebody's going to be injured,
Right.
probably
Right.
pretty bad.
Right.
Even at 40 miles an hour, you can do some damage to somebody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They're barely coming across the intersection. You hit them in the driver's door. That's going to hurt.
And I want to touch on something you said earlier, Sarge. You were talking about in the Austin and the video that you're watching, just even kind of being defensive driving, and even when that light turns green. I know a lot of times we're in a hurry or whatnot, but just kind of checking the intersection and looking at these vehicles coming, because you might have some people that aren't paying attention or trying to hurry and make that light, and so just checking the intersection. I just remember it just made me think of a time I was younger. I wasn't driving yet. I might have been like 10 or something, but out there at Highway 6 in Spiegelville before the big intersection, it was just a little 2-lane road. But we were going off of Spiegelville, and the light had turned green, and my mom was about to go, and she stopped, and here comes this 18-wheeler just barreling through the intersection. So it's just kind of stuff like that even now I carry with me to kind of check green lights before entering intersections, just because that experience. So just kind of also be defensive driving as well. It's very important.
Well, you say that. I was actually in another state, in one of their major cities, and I was going to get something to eat. I was staying over by the airport, and I needed to run down and get something to eat. And going down this road. You know, it's a pretty major road in that city. And I noticed the light turned green, but nobody moved. I'm like, it actually took them a second or two to move. But what I saw whenever that occurred was 2 other cars run the red light instantly. And that didn't happen at just one intersection.
Wow.
It actually happened at multiple intersections. So the people in that town have
Almost
gotten,
like
They're accustomed to that.
they're accustomed to it. So you will see them wait. They won't just, when it turns green, go.
Yeah.
And I saw that in more parts of town than, just that side of town. It was several parts of town I saw that where they would wait, a second or two for the red light runner, and then they would go.
Yeah. And it's by no means saying run red light's okay, but it's just being safe about it because, like you said, 40 miles an hour, that causes some damage and can cause some serious injury.
Well, there is the second or two delay between the red light and the next red light turning green, right? But still, even then, those people who are going to run the red lights, I mean, sometimes, again, they're not paying attention or not realizing, and maybe sometimes they can. If they tried to stop, well, they're going to stop in the middle of the intersection and are either going to have to continue to go forward or put it in reverse. So,
Well, that's one other thing that people are, sometimes they're confused about, what is running a red light?
Right.
Well, if you're catch the yellow and you're in the intersection whenever the light turns red,
sure,
you're fine. You continue on because turning, that's going to happen to you if you're turning.
Yeah.
That's the other problem with people continuing through the yellow. You're not allowing traffic flow because people that may need to turn, they can't because you're blowing the yellow light. So, you're inhibiting traffic as it is. The other thing is, a lot of people, first thing they'll say, hey, it was yellow whenever I entered. Well, entering the intersection doesn't occur until you've passed the lights or the striping that's on the ground, whether it's, some intersections just have a stop line. Some of them have a crosswalk as well. So if you haven't if your vehicle hasn't fully, or the majority of it, crossed that when the light has turned red, you've ran the red light.
Okay.
So if you're sitting on top of the crosswalk, you didn't enter on a yellow. It was red.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's the biggest thing we get is it was yellow when I entered. It may have been yellow when you looked at it. It was not yellow whenever you entered the intersection.
And so speaking on that as well, I've noticed a lot of things just from working patrol and working crashes. If you happen to witness a crash and see like, hey, no, I did witness this light, this color, I did witness it. It was a flashing, yellow arrow, not a solid green arrow. Stay in until officers arrive just to say, hey, I did witness this or did witness that. It gives us an unbiased opinion when it comes to the crash because, like you said, a lot of times, well, it was green or it was this, and just they might not have realized it or, or don't want to admit something or something like that. So having an unbiased witness just to kind of say, hey, I did witness this is always very beneficial, especially to us on scene working crashes.
One other thing is, a lot of people think when they have the green light that they automatically get the right of way, which for the most part is true. However, if you have somebody that still is already in the intersection, they have the right to exit that intersection. So just because you got the green light, you need to make sure that intersection is clear because you may have had one of those people that was trying to turn and wasn't able to, and when they finally able to turn, now you've hit them. And they were legally where they were at because they entered it on a green. It turned red on them, but they are, they can exit the intersection, before you come blowing through the intersection at 50, 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
sure. Even the other day, I was going to work and usually you see people that, it's still red and they might go through it and you realize that, okay, they're fine, whatever. But the other day, no, my light turned green and I went to go, but then I didn't accelerate very fast because, grandma driving. And thankfully I didn't though, because as I was going, I noticed the car that was turning left in front of me was not stopping. And I was like, oh, okay, go right on ahead.
It's that defensive driving for you.
Exactly. And I was like, and now I'll go.
Yeah. And that's another thing is a lot of people have gone to more of an offensive driving versus a defensive.
Yeah.
They don't, there is no defense in their driving whatsoever. It's, I need to get to point A to B and I don't care what's in my way. So that's a mindset that really, that's what really needs to be addressed is, and we can't change that. If you're wanting to get to A to B, I can't change your mindset as to how to do that safely. I can give you pointers and whatnot. It's up to you to do it safely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the road rage is a...
Seems like there's been more incidents of road rage.
People getting mad at each other on the road.
Excessive honking, just yelling, following people. I mean, I've noticed more calls come in.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to get to our destination, right? So it's just, and again, I know people that have way more, like, I don't necessarily get mad if someone does something and doesn't use their blinker. I always say, oh, join the party. Come on in in front of me. Like, I'm just like, okay, whatever. I try not to have it bother me too much just because it's not worth it to get mad or get angry. And if they didn't hurt me, maybe they didn't do it the safest way, but thankfully I'm not injured or they're not injured, then I'm just going to let them cut me off and keep going about my day, right? It's not worth it to get mad.
Well, while you're on the topic of that and while we're talking about it, if you happen to find yourself in a road rage incident, not following them because you don't know, what they might have in the car, their mindset or anything like that. I mean, the best thing you can do is call our non-emergency number, maybe give it a vehicle description of what happened in a license plate, maybe an officer's in the area, but to not follow them. Or if you notice someone with road rage is following you, call 911. I would definitely say that's a 911 situation. Let them know, hey, this car's following me. He's got road rage because, again, you might not know their mindset and what they're doing. And then, just kind of start making your way towards the police department. Since we're on that topic, I kind of want to give that safety tip. I didn't know if anybody.
We get lots of calls about, just reckless drivers, someone calling in about they're not, obeying the rules of the road. And it goes out to everyone on the radio. So that is one thing that we get quite often.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing is we get a lot of them in these construction zones. It's more than just drivers in those construction zones. Right. We there's people that are out there working, and if you have a crash in that, the potential of hurting one of those workers that's just trying to do their job is pretty high. Yeah. I mean, there's some areas that they've got some pretty good concrete barriers and stuff like that, but still,
cars can flip over those.
Absolutely. I've seen them go straight over the top of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
cones and stuff. And right now, everywhere in Waco is a construction zone.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So just slowing down and being mindful of that.
Just remembering it's more than just you on the road.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Right.
Just have that mindset of if I get in a crash, I can't get to B.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing is I may end up in the hospital because I made a bad choice, whether it's running the red light or I'll give you another one that actually causes wrecks all the time is people disregard the lines on the ground. When a line is solid on the ground, you can't cross that line. That's what TxDOT or the cities put out there to say, hey, it's not a physical barrier in the fact that I stuck a concrete barrier there, but it is actually a barrier to keep you going. I'll give you a good example is 5th and Waco, or 5th and Interstate rather, right there where the McDonald's and the Fazoli's are. Well, there's what we call a Texas turnaround that brings you to turn back south underneath the interstate, and people all the time will try to
cut
they
across.
try and get into that, like right where the Fazoli's, McDonald's, and Dutch Bros is. They try and cut across, and
that's why TxDOT put that line all the way over there. Is it's longer, so you can go down to 7th Street or 8th Street and make the turn and then come back
around, right?
But people,
it's not safe to cut across.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people cut that thing, and we have wrecks.
Right,
I would venture to say we have, at least 2 or 3 of those a week right there.
Yeah. Well, even before that solid white line was there, and that turnaround was open, that area opened back up, I was like, this is not safe. I'm going down a little bit more.
Yeah. But just actually just take a little bit of extra time just to go down a few streets and then circle back.
We know you're hungry.
Yep.
Yeah.
We know you might want your coffee. But
I say, I want my coffee.
Can't
but
get there
it's
if
just
you
not
have a
worth
wreck.
it.
I say, in your vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So,
is there anything that now, of course, obviously crashes happen basically every day, right? Is there anything, certain crashes, maybe fender benders, situations like that, we don't necessarily need to be called out to, but maybe we still get called out to? Is there situations where maybe as long as it's civil, the drivers can exchange information and they don't have to get us involved, or?
Oh yeah, if the cars are drivable and there's nobody injured, you can pull over into a parking lot, exchange information, and go on your way. I mean, there's no reason for an officer to go out there. A lot of times, our reports are an opinion anyways. I mean, it's not a fact. Sometimes insurance companies use them. Sometimes insurance companies don't. It all depends. They have a lot of those companies have their own investigators, so they'll investigate the crash as well.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's just a minor fender bender where, nobody's hurt, no bunch of damage to where you can't drive off, just exchange information and then go on. And that information could be just name, your insurance company, the phone number for your insurance company, maybe some vehicle information as well, just some general information. That way the insurance companies can talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, or the other person can call your insurance company and say, hey, this is what happened. So, I mean, it's as simple as that. You don't have to have an officer out there. I don't care what insurance companies say. You don't have to have a police report to file a claim.
Right.
like I say, that's what some people say is my insurance says I have to have a crash report or something like that. And it basically is, we're going to do the same thing you're going to do, help you exchange information when it's.
A lot of it's they want us to do, they don't have to pay for an investigator to come out if we did it for them.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So
and then it's just, it prolongs the whole
right.
situation for
And we
them
do-
as well to
and
get
we do
everything fixed.
the crash reports have a couple of different things for us. Number one, we have investigated the crash because it's bad enough, it meets the criteria, but it's also for statistical data.
Yeah.
It's not for insurance companies. It's for us to make our roadways better. That's what a lot of the crash reports are for. A lot of people don't realize TxDOT uses those crash reports to figure out, is there something we need to change? Is there something we can do better in an area? So it's not just about the crash itself. It's about, giving TxDOT information on that area. Is there something we're missing over there? I give you a good example. I think it was in the Houston area. They were having a crash in a specific spot every time it rained. Well, TxDOT goes out there and realizes there's a pool of water that comes up every time it rains. So they're able to put drainage in and correct that because of crash reports.
Oh, okay.
So, that's kind of what crash reports are really for. Yes, they do help with insurance and whatnot, but they have more meaning than just that.
Right.
Probably getting a lot of information right there at that turnaround at
Oh, yeah.
5th and 6th Street.
Yeah. We're going to need more than a solid white line, maybe.
Yeah.
But
some people think, sometimes they just think that they can do it, and it's just not, depth perception's kind of off sometimes. The thing in your mirror where it says it's closer than it
Yes.
appears,
yeah, it comes up.
Yeah.
It's just.
But going back to those crashes real fast, just reiterating, if you're able to pulling off to the side or pulling into a parking lot, but just getting off the road,
Especially if
is
you're
actually
up on the
way
interstate.
is way safer for you to do that versus staying where you're at. Like, it doesn't mean that you're avoiding the crash or anything like that. If you're concerned, put on your hazards and then just drive slow till you can get off. But it's a giant safety hazard. For everybody involved, if you can safely pull off of the roadway or pull to the side. Whenever you're involved in a crash, and you are able to. We have some instances where someone might be hurt or the vehicle can't move. That's different. But if you are able to move, it makes it safer for everyone involved.
Absolutely. Well, anything else about traffic laws on the road?
We've covered a
people
lot.
should do?
Yeah, it's just paying attention.
Speeding,
and
lights, crashes.
caring for more than just yourself.
Yeah.
Because who you've got in your vehicle, the other people around, the thing is that, and I'll give you a good example, I'm sure people have seen it, guy talking on his cell phone, having an argument with his girlfriend, coming through a parking lot, hits a person in the car or hits a person that's walking through the parking lot.
Right.
And turns out it's his girlfriend.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, instead of paying attention to driving and whatnot, he ends up hitting his girlfriend in a parking lot.
Jeez.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
just paying attention and caring for more than ourselves.
Right.
Defensive driving. Bringing
Defensive
back
driving.
defensive
Not
driving.
offensive driving.
Right.
Yes. So
Everyone should just drive like me.
I know.
Yeah.
I've had to take defensive driving, so I'm a fan of it.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, Sergeant Ashworth, for
Oh, yeah,
joining
no
us
problem.
here and letting us know. Any time that you feel that there's a issue that arises that we need to address, let the public know to slow down or
Yeah.
stop at a red light.
And
then
I appreciate
let
you
us know.
whenever people send us that information on
Yeah.
vehicles and
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
Because got one the other day. We're going to go have a conversation with somebody.
Well, there
Yeah.
you go. And a lot of it, actually, this is a great point to bring up. A lot of it's education.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're not pulling
Absolutely.
people over to give them tickets necessarily.
No, because, I mean, we actually hand out quite a few warnings. I mean, if you haven't just blatantly broken a law or something like that, a lot of times you may just get a warning. You know, when you do run through an intersection that has a red light 5 seconds afterwards, yes, you're going to get
You know,
a
yeah.
citation more
Yeah.
than likely.
There's stipulations.
Yeah.
So, but somebody that, you know, now our policies, if you run a red light, you're going to get a ticket. So, or a citation. But yes, I mean, there's a lot of things. Maybe I was going a little fast for the area I'm in. So as long as it's not a daggum neighborhood,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, or a school zone.
or a school zone,
An
Don't-
activated
don't-
school zone.
don't-
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't go through the school zones too fast. Because, I mean, we stop people all the time. Even Waco ISD works some of those school zones when they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, just slow down for the flashing lights.
My favorite thing is when you see the school zone up ahead and people like speed up and then hit their brakes at the school. And I'm like,
Right.
just like roll into it. It's okay. 20
Yeah.
miles. It's all good.
Yeah,
No big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
It's just the
They've
funniest
got to
thing.
get to it and then drop their speed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, we're
And
gonna
it's not
there.
get to it and then slow down to 20. It is 20.
Yeah.
Your speed must be 20 by the
Right.
time you enter that school zone.
And it's
Right.
just so funny to watch. And I'm just like, you know, 20, just roll into it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, that's a lot. That's you bring up that. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's not when I see one of those speed. It's called a speed zone for a reason. It's from sign to sign. When I see that, doesn't mean that that's when I get to go that speed. It's when I pass that sign that I need to either be at that speed or I can go to that faster speed.
There you go.
So
Yeah. Again, education.
There you go.
Sometimes.
Yes. Well,
So-
thank you very much for joining us here on
Oh,
Waco
yeah.
PD on the Beat. Be safe out there, guys. Drive slow.
Drive
All
slow.
right.
Ryan, that's for you. So,
I'm Sierra Shipley, the Public Information Officer for the Waco Police Department.
and I'm also Janae Draper with the Neighborhood Engagement Team.
Have a great day, Waco.
Waco PD on the beat. The heartbeat serving